Let's speak to Jacques Reland. He's a senior research fellow at the Global Policy Institute, joining us from Paris. Many thanks for speaking to us on TRT World. Let's start exactly with that. When Macron came to power in September, he had this huge vision for Eurozone reform. He spoke of rebuilding Europe, a common budget, and so on. And he wanted Germany's help to do this. But the chances of him now achieving that exact vision are very unlikely, aren't they? Would you agree?
Indeed, because Emmanuel Macron wants to lead on the issue of a Eurozone reform, but unfortunately he has very few followers, because not only is Germany hostile to his plans, even though they might be ready to make some compromise, but he finds more hostility coming from Scandinavian countries, Nordic countries, the Baltic countries, Austria. Most of the northern countries in the Eurozone are opposed to his ideas of a common budget and of a minister, Eurozone minister, as well as the more ambitious projects of Eurozone Parliament.
There was a time when it came to the EU as a whole, when France and Germany decided something, pretty much all the members would follow through to some degree. How have things changed, and why have things changed?
Things have changed first because that was the case when Europe only had 15 countries. Now it has more than 27, 28 countries. So it's much more difficult to find a common position which will satisfy everyone. Before, it used to be that France and Germany came from different directions. France represented the views more or less of the southern countries, and Germany the northern countries, and eventually when they came to an agreement, it would satisfy all partners. Now it's much more difficult, and you have also a much more difficult political context, with the European Union being very divided and other issues interfering with the economic issues, especially now the issue of migration, which has taken center stage and has pushed into the background, for example, the desire to reform the Eurozone today.
The issue of migration, as you say, always hijacks the discussion of other things. But where do France and Germany both stand when it comes to the migration issue, when it comes to solving the migration crisis? On the surface, we hear from France saying, you know, we'll take... recently we had the issue with the boat that Italy and Malta wouldn't take in, and France said we'll take some of those people. On the surface, it seems like France is very amenable to migrants, but is there any clear policy here?
It will be very difficult to establish a clear policy between the two of them, because the main problem is that the German government is divided on this issue, and Merkel will not be in a position of strength because, as you know, Home Secretary or Interior Minister, Horst Seehofer, has given the German government a ultimatum, saying that if you don't come to a satisfying agreement, we will close the borders to asylum seekers coming from other countries in 2 weeks' time. So it's and France was hoping to be able to get a deal reforming Dublin III, the Dublin III ruling, which insists that migrants should apply for visa and for asylum in the country where they arrive. France and Angela Merkel were hoping to come to a compromise on the issue of quotas, that migrant asylum seekers arriving in Europe should be split, should be shared between European countries. But they'll find a stronger position from the ex-Eastern Bloc countries such as Poland, Hungary, but also Austria, and you can see even in northern countries more opposition to that principle. And the main problem for Angela Merkel is that Interior Minister is opposed to such a deal. So what can they come up with? We'll know that in the discussion they will propose far more money for Frontex to discourage immigrants from coming into Europe, and we've already seen that it has worked in certain ways because the numbers are down on what they were 2 years ago especially, and even on last year. And there's this idea of creating hotspots for asylum seekers in countries outside the Eurozone to decide to who's entitled to come to Europe and seek asylum. But on the issue of quotas, I don't think much progress will be made at the summit of the 28th and 29th of June, which this council is meant to prepare.
Okay, Jacques, really good to speak to you. Jacques Reland, Senior Research Fellow at the Global Policy Institute, speaking to us there from Paris.